Hello, everyone, and welcome to Casual Experts Only. I'm your host, Mike, and today, instead of being joined by Luke, I am joined by my friend Caleb.
Hello, hello.
And today we're going to be giving our, review and thoughts about Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. But first, we're going to talk about a bunch of somewhat recent news over the last few weeks. So, first off, let's talk about that new Spider-Man Noir show being developed at Amazon. Any of you who have not heard about it, this is according to Variety. A Spider-Man Noir live-action series is in the works at Amazon. The untitled series will follow an older, grizzled superhero in the 1930s New York City. An individual with knowledge of the project says that the show will be set in its own universe, and the main character will not be Peter Parker. Oren Uziel will serve as writer and executive producer on the Spider-Man show, and he developed it with producers Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who produced Into the Spider-Verse, and I'm pretty sure they're producing the new ones too. So yeah, that could be really cool. I know when we talked about it when the news first broke, we were both pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty excited for it. It would be pretty cool if they could get Nicolas Cage to do it. I think he's probably like the perfect age
Yeah,
for what they're trying to
honestly.
shoot for. And that guy has such range as an actor. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he really does. Like, I think he could really do a good job too with the kind of noir, like melodrama kind of,
Mhm.
if they were going for that tone, being a little bit exaggerated. My only I guess qualm or like worry about this is that the writer has pretty much only done comedies. Um like his last one was the romantic comedy The Lost City. He did write 22 Jump Street, and he wrote the Mortal Kombat movie that came out a couple years ago and the Cloverfield Paradox. But apparently
Oh,
he also worked on the scripts for John Wick 4 and the Borderlands movie that's going to be coming out.
okay.
So he's kind of got a mixed, yeah, very mixed resume. I mean, just because he wrote a lot of comedy doesn't mean he's, going to make this a comedy.
Right, exactly.
And it
And I feel
does.
like the studio is going to point him in the right direction and where to go.
Right. Well, yeah, and it says it'll follow an older, grizzled superhero. So, like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's got to have at least a pretty, dark. It's got to have a darker tone, I think. The only thing is, I really hope Amazon gets um more control of this than Sony, because Sony kind of, I don't know, their movie universe has been kind of weird. The movies haven't been amazing.
That's true, but I feel like since Amazon is producing it, it
Yeah.
will at least look good,
Yeah.
and
Right.
Sony might allow them to do a little bit more than they would Marvel probably
Well,
Disney.
right, but yeah, I mean, even with Marvel, like those Spider-Man movies have been better than all of the new Spider-Man Sony movies. So
That is true. That is
it
true.
seems like when they team up with other studios, it seems like it goes better. So I do have high hopes for this. They're also Amazon is also making a Silk series. That was announced like a while ago, like probably a year or so ago. But she is in the comics. I don't know if you know much about Silk, but she was bitten by the same spider that bit Peter.
Hmm.
And she and her family kind of like hid in a bunker for years, until Peter found her. I think like his spider sense led him to her or something. But she's become like one of his um, trusted allies in the last few years. But I mean, if they do that right, that could be an interesting show too. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, I like you said, since Amazon's producing it, it's probably going to be pretty good, at least production wise.
Yeah, and I think Silk does have a lot of high promise because they're
Yeah.
actually making a Spider-Man character movie that actually has Spider-Man like powers.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's not just yeah. Like all. It's not just another villain story.
Hmm. And then they just make him into an anti-hero and redeem themselves
Yeah.
somehow.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty much every single one. Um, yeah, but staying in the same Spider-Man vein, apparently, according to Kevin Feige, the Spider-Man 4 story, starring Tom Holland, is already finished. He said, I think that this was in an interview with Variety. Kevin Feige said, "All I will say is that we have the story. We have big ideas for that, and our writers are just putting pen to paper now. So they have the story. Usually, what happens is like they plan the story out, and then they write the actual script. So it seems like they have the general story already mapped out. Now they just have to write the script, and that can take anywhere from like several months to a year, depending on if things go smoothly or not. But there's been a lot of like rumors and reports saying that it's supposed to start filming, I think at like the end of this year or something.
Hmm.
So I guess we'll see how that goes. But it's definitely like confirmed that Spider-Man 4 is happening. So
That is really exciting news to hear because
yeah.
I know that there was some speculation of him maybe not returning as Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of thought he would, at least for the Avengers movies, but at least I'm glad he's coming back for another sequel first.
Yeah, and I really hope to see. Someone said that they'd like to see Johnny Storm become
Mm,
Peter's roommate in
I know
college,
that
and
would
I
be
feel like
freaking
that would be
cool.
cool
Yeah.
because if it came out before the Fantastic Four
Mm-hmm.
movie, that would be like really cool to see maybe who is playing Johnny Storm and that's
Yeah.
it, and then maybe find a way to like not find out who anyone else was until the Fantastic Four movie,
Yeah,
or
that
they
would
just
be
have a
cool.
small cameo or something.
Yeah, that would be cool. Plus, I think like since Spider-Man's been kind of isolated at Sony for so long, we haven't really seen him interact with like the friends he's had in the comics, like Daredevil and Johnny Storm.
Yeah,
So it would be really cool to just see their friendship on screen.
and I heard a bunch of rumors that Tom Holland still had an original appearance on his last contract, and
Hmm.
I really hope to see that in Daredevil Born Again.
Dude, same. That'd be really cool if like Daredevil Born Again kind of leads into the next Spider-Man, and like
Yeah.
Daredevil shows up in that at least a little bit. That'd be pretty
Hmm.
cool. But I guess we'll see. But from what Kevin Feige's been saying, he's been saying that Daredevil and Spider-Man are the MCU's like street level heroes. So it seems like this sequel is probably going to be like a more grounded Spider-Man, kind of like the PS4 game and whatnot. It's
Yeah,
going to be less like cosmic shit.
and I think that makes perfect sense because
Yeah.
Peter finally became like by himself and
Right.
everything, and he's truly like a Spider-Man, like no help from anybody or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So plus it's going to be cool to see hopefully some like street level villains that he hasn't really fought yet on the big
Yeah,
screen.
I'd really like there to be like how like in some superhero movies, like they have like the villain they take down within like the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really cool if that was like Tombstone or Hammerhead
Yeah,
or
that would
someone
be
like that.
sick. Yeah,
I
some
think they
crime boss.
yeah. But
But
I really
yeah.
hope they do continue to do something with Scorpion. They teased him
Yeah,
so
I
long ago.
know. That kind of pisses me off to be honest when they like that they tease that and they're just like they haven't done anything with it.
Hmm. And especially after watching Better Call Saul, knowing what
Mm,
a great job that guy does as acting,
yeah.
it just gets me more excited.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like assumed he's been in prison this whole time,
Yeah.
but you know, I don't know. I guess we'll see. But it'd be kind of cool to see, yeah, just see like multiple villains, kind of like the Spider-Man game, and then there's like one big bad, kind of
Hmm.
like Mr. Negative was the big bad, which it'd be really cool to see a live action Mr. Negative, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. He's super cool.
We already know Feast exists because Aunt May was working there in No Way Home.
Right, and that's exactly where like Miles Morales comes from, and too, and
Hmm.
they kind of already acknowledged his existence in a little way with Childish Gambino playing.
Right, his uncle.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that could be cool. That's definitely one of the Marvel projects I'm most interested in. There's been like there's maybe half of the next Marvel movies that I really care about, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, switching over more to like DC stuff. Um, this isn't like huge news, but it's been kind of circulating the internet and stuff. Apparently, Brendan Fraser and Leslie Grace, who starred in Batgirl, kind of gave their thoughts and like talked about the movie that is now canceled.
Hmm.
And basically, Leslie Grace was saying that she was able to see a cut of the movie. It was like very early in the editing, so she really just got to see, like the raw footage for the most part. And I mean, she said it. She said it was incredible, and that it definitely had the potential for a good film. But it's like at the same, it's like who's gonna like drag something that they put a lot of work into. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say for sure what this movie, if this movie was going to be good or not. But I do understand why it was canceled. It wasn't just like well, screw everybody who worked on this. We just want, a tax write off. Like that was definitely part of it, obviously, because the movie studio is a business, really. When it comes down to it. But really, the movie got greenlit like by all the executives when they were like at the end of their tenure there at Warner Brothers, and they only gave it like a $90 million budget, which sounds like a lot, but for like a big superhero movie,
Yeah,
it's not much at
studio.
all.
Yeah.
And because it was originally just supposed to be an HBO Max original movie, so they didn't really care about the quality. They just wanted to like greenlight shit.
Hmm.
Um, but because of COVID and reshoots and all that stuff, it ended up ballooning into like a 100. I can't remember how much. I think I heard it was like over 200 million. Yeah.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so and that was before they even like um completely finished it. And like if they wanted to like ramp it up and make it theater quality, they would have had to spend even more on it. So it was like
Right.
honestly just kind of cheaper to cut their losses and cancel it and get a tax write off
Yeah.
than to make it as good as they wanted to. And like Peter Safran, who is the co CEO of DC Studios, said that the movie would have basically would have damaged Warner Brothers and everybody who worked on it, which I don't think he didn't mean that it was the fault of the people who worked on it. It was more just they kind of got screwed with the budget. um
Yeah.
so but Brendan Fraser did say that Glasgow, which was where they filmed, uh, to be Gotham City, he said that like, um, yeah, he said Gotham never looked better cast as Glasgow, Scotland. It's decaying and just gorgeous, and it looks like it's Gotham City. It's perfectly cast. So that kind of would have been cool to see because like Glasgow is probably pretty, um, what's the word? I'm trying to pretty gothic, kind of like
Yeah.
what we got in the Batman, but maybe even more so. So it would have been cool to see even just to see that. But at the same time, the movie was also part of this weird timeline they were trying to make where like Michael Keaton takes over as Batman in the main universe, and
Oh
it would have
yeah.
just been
I remember
confusing
that.
as hell and kind of stupid. No,
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really have a whole lot of hype for that movie,
yeah,
and I didn't really agree with the Brendan Fraser Firefly casting.
no,
No, I do like him as an actor, but
yeah.
I just that one I just couldn't get behind it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like they were going a different route than like the comics with him. Like they were trying to make him, according to Brendan Fraser, they were trying to make him kind of sympathetic in a way. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, but
A villain that isn't I feel like pure evil, where they kind of get
right.
broken first.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, I just meant like specifics, like
Oh, okay,
what
okay.
his actual, situation was that drove him to being. But in the comics, like Garfield Lynch was just a crazy pyromaniac,
Oh yeah, no, he was a psycho.
Yeah, so they were definitely changing stuff, which I mean, it could have been good. I can't say for sure, obviously, but I've heard like mixed reviews. Some people said it was good, and some people said it looked like a TV pilot.
Yeah.
So definitely not. I definitely wouldn't really want to see a movie, a Batgirl movie that would look like a TV pilot, if but I don't
Yeah.
know. But anyway, I don't know if you've been hearing about this stuff, but there's been these hashtags kind of trending called like sell the Snyderverse to Netflix. Which makes no freaking sense, but people have been pushing it, and it just like it just doesn't make any sense monetarily. Cause like think because it's not like the Snyder, it's not like Zack Snyder's movies were a bunch of obscure characters. They were like the main ones, like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash. Like
Yeah.
people were trying to make these stipulations, like, well, technically his versions of the characters are different and set apart, and they could just sell his versions. I'm like, what? It still doesn't make sense. But further than that, um, it seems like Netflix wasn't even interested, or like it's purely a fan thing. Apparently James Gunn addressed it on Twitter recently. I think this was too, yeah, James Gunn did tweet something, and somebody replied with the hashtag sell the Snyderverse to Netflix. And James Gunn replied, I have to say, this has got to be the wackiest hashtag ever, since one, Netflix hasn't expressed any such interest, although we've discussed other stuff. And two, Zach hasn't expressed any interest and seems to be happy doing what he's doing. And yes, we two have talked. And then somebody asked, what y'all talk about? And then he said he contacted me to express his support about my choices. He's a great guy. Again, he seems really happy with the massive world building he's doing now. That's another logistic thing that wouldn't make any sense, is that, you know,
Yeah.
Zack Snyder is doing a bunch of shit at Netflix already. Like, he's already got, a lot. He's already got like a contract that goes until, I think, this year, but I think I heard he re-signed. And he's currently working on like a big 2-part sci-fi movie, and he still has some like zombie movies to make and everything. So he's doing his own stuff and doesn't seem, interested in returning to movies or anything, to DC stuff.
Yeah.
So it's very much like just this, I don't know, this weird fan thing. It just has been, it's probably one of the most like ridiculous ones that I've seen lately. But yeah.
Yeah, oh man, that's awful.
It
If that happened, I'd probably puke. I can't even lie.
just,
And I'm really not the biggest Zack Snyder fan in general, and I think that's just another reason.
mhm. Yeah, that's
But
fair. I mean, you know I am, but even I'm just like, well, that's freaking stupid. Like,
right,
I
exactly.
can't hawk like the whole like release the Snyder cut thing. That actually had some merit to it, because there actually was a, an actual movie that got totally changed. This is
Yeah,
just like out of left field. Like, what?
yeah,
But yeah, but some other news from good old Mr. Gunn. Apparently, he said that um Superman Legacy basically got greenlit before Henry Cavill even made that announcement saying he was coming back.
yeah. I did see that, and that
Yeah.
that surprised me a lot
Mm-hmm. So
because
yeah.
I really wonder if they would have maybe gotten like an actor a little bit younger for that, or if like Gunn kept to the same story that was already greenlit or something like that. But
So
that would have been really interesting to see.
I have a first off, James Gunn, he replied to this tweet with somebody asking if. Oh, okay, so apparently, James Gunn said the DCU's first chapter is being fast tracked, and somebody replied to a tweet saying, "So Creature Commandos is in production or not?" And then he said it is in production, but this is all on James Gunn's Instagram story. He also wrote underneath that post that not that fast tracked, really, since this and Superman Legacy were both in development before we took over as DCU Studios chiefs. So before Gunn and Safran were even hired to be DC Studios chiefs, Superman Legacy was greenlit. And he followed up that tweet saying that he was hired to write Superman Legacy over 6 months ago.
Oh,
And that was just yesterday that he tweeted this. So my so Taylor Murphy, over at the Cultured Nerd, whose network we are a part of, he talked about some stuff. He has some, like, he's not a scooper, but he has a lot of insight, like friends that are insiders and like
hmm,
work at the studios and stuff. And from what he was saying that David Zaslav, who is the new CEO of Warner Brothers, he commissioned multiple Superman pitches and was considering bringing back Cavill if Black Adam proved successful, which it didn't really. It didn't really do very well in the box office. I think it made like less than 400 million worldwide. Um,
Yeah.
and Henry Cavill never actually signed a new contract, and his return announcement was meant to bolster ticket sales to Black Adam, which still failed. And it's not really clear, like, because Henry Cavill said that the studio told him to make the announcement, whereas I've heard other reports that his management said to. So um, apparently there was also a script pitch for Man of Steel 2 with Brainiac that was rejected by the studio,
Oh
stuff
yeah.
like that. So it seems like they were greenlighting multiple things, like, and apparently David Zaslav kept using the word multiverse to justify greenlighting multiple projects with the same character. So it seems like they were kind of like, making plans and on a wait and see basis, like, let's make Man of Steel 2, but let's also greenlight a rebooted Superman with James Gunn writing, and then since Black Adam didn't do well, they totally scrapped the Henry Cavill project. And apparently, like, a lot of people were pitching projects for the future of DC. I'm assuming this is, when the new Warner Brothers staff came on. And some of them were the Garcias, who rep Henry Cavill and Dwayne Johnson. And it was basically like, if Black Adam was successful, the Garcias pitch to continue with like Henry Cavill Superman and everything would have been accepted. But, it didn't work out. So it seems like Henry Cavill is kind of a weird, like, piece in this. And I don't know if he really fully knew the extent of it. But yeah, it's kind of messy. But at the same time, it kind of shows that, like, a lot of people have been like blaming James Gunn, acting like he just came in and like on day one was just like, fuck Henry Cavill, he's fired. And that's clearly not really the case. It doesn't seem like it doesn't really seem like it was his decision, really. He was brought on to write Superman Legacy, and it was the studio's decision to, kind of like act like Henry was back, definitely, but it was really tentative. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, that's really a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, for real. Which, I mean, of course, there's still gonna be a lot of people, that might say like James Gunn was lying or stuff like that. But it's like, why? That doesn't make that.
Yeah, it honestly just sounds really messy, and
Mm-hmm.
I understand that people are huge fans of Henry Cavill's Superman and stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm a fan of his as well, but I just that really just sounds too messy, and I don't think it would have worked well. I feel
Yeah.
like Warner Bros. At the time was trying to do too much too fast, trying to
Yeah.
compete with what Marvel had going on at the time, which was like Endgame and Infinity War and setting up Thanos, and I just feel like it just didn't work out too
Well,
well. I'm
all
kind of
this.
happy.
I mean, are you talking about like their other DC movies, or are you talking about this situation? Because this situation was just like last year. So like, basically,
Oh, okay,
when
okay.
the
I did
new
not know it was last
DC,
year.
yeah, when the new Warner Brothers bosses came on, they basically like greenlit, like, both versions of Superman, and was like kind of seeing, if Black Adam would like work or not. And
Hmm.
since it wasn't super well received critically, plus it didn't make a whole lot of money, they were just like, yeah, well, I guess we're not moving forward with Henry Cavill, which was his managers. Like, it was pretty much Dwayne Johnson and the Garcias who rep Dwayne Johnson and formerly repped Henry Cavill. They had like some plan, and they were kind of trying to take over DC in a way. They were trying to like, orchestrate things so that their projects would kind of get greenlit, including, like Henry Cavill continuing as Superman.
Yeah, Dwayne was really pushing for a Black
Yeah.
Adam versus Superman movie and such.
That too. They were kind of trying to set up a rivalry between them, seemed like, at least to a certain extent. So, yeah, once Black Adam didn't do very well, they just totally abandoned all that stuff, and it seems like Henry Cavill's kind of got caught in the middle, which is
Yeah,
very unfortunate. But it seems like he's working on Warhammer, which he's really passionate about. So good for him. Um,
yeah.
yeah. Moving on to some, I guess, less weird and depressing stuff. It seems like the Batman is rumored to start filming in November, or sorry, the Batman Part 2. which I don't know if that makes much sense because I don't. I mean, I guess a script. I know earlier or sorry, late last year, Matt Reeves was saying he was working on a script, but I just don't see them starting filming this year, especially since it's supposed to come out in 2025. I see them starting filming maybe spring next year. Um, I'm not really sure, but this is according to Grace Randolph, who's very like hit or miss when it comes to these scoops. So no idea if that's for sure or not, but there are some more confirmed reports that Robert Pattinson's Batman will appear in the Penguin series.
Oh yes, I did see that. That got me more excited than I already was.
Definitely, yeah, because like yeah, I was already looking forward to it because Colin Farrell was awesome as Penguin. It's gonna be cool to see his, rise to power and everything. But having Batman cameo in it is gonna make it even cooler. And I feel like it's gonna because I think a lot of those shows that are kind of part of a universe but don't really have the main heroes in it, it just feels like kind of disconnected, even though it's part of the same universe. So having
Yeah,
Batman actually in it
you
is
feel
pretty
like you're
cool.
missing something,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I feel like Batman will probably show up to try and imprison Penguin or something like that, and Penguin kind of is useful and gives him information on a lot of dirty people, and I feel like that's why Batman is going to keep
Mm,
him around, kind of like we
yeah,
have seen in past projects or
that would make
in the
sense.
Gotham TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess Jim Gordon did that, not Batman.
Right. Yeah, I think that would make sense. I feel like he's probably only going to be like in a glorified cameo,
Yeah.
but it'll still be pretty cool. And also it'll be cool to see his Batman again before 2025.
Oh yeah, most definitely because I mean that's the best Batman movie ever, without a doubt, in
Yeah,
my opinion. And
yeah,
I'm still starstruck by how good that film was.
yeah. No, for real. Like I keep kind of going back to it, like going back to certain scenes and stuff, or seeing other people's reaction to it, and I'm like, yeah, I just keep getting reminded how good it is.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's freaking cool. But last bit of news, we're gonna be talking about some Flash rumors, so could be some big spoilers here for the Flash movie. So don't continue if you care. But apparently, like I don't know if you've heard of John Campea, but he's got like his own podcast, and he's kind of a scooper. He leaked a couple photos of No Way Home before it came out of like all three Spider-Man as well as Matt Murdock, but his scoops are kind of like hit or miss, and I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of him, but apparently he has alluded that Grant Gustin is at the end of the Flash movie and that he will be taking over as the new Flash in the DCU, which I call bullshit, but this is the actual quote. So he said, "I've had a little bird tell me, and I'm sure this little bird is also telling a few other people. So you're probably going to see this pop up over the next day or two around some other places as well. That just a short version. God, Jesus, you want to just like have a complete sentence, bro? Like, jeez, just a short version. Grant Gustin, who plays the Flash in the television series The Flash, is going to be the new Flash of the DC universe. Now." Not only does this not make any sense to me, I'm really not a fan of that. Like if they're going to recast Ezra Miller, I mean, if they were going to replace Ezra Miller, I'd want them to like totally recast it. I wouldn't want Grant Gustin to play him in the movies.
I I honestly am somewhat of a fan of that.
Yeah.
I feel like you give Grant Gustin better writing, a better budget, and a
Hmm.
better director and such. I feel like that could be pretty cool. There are some doubts in my mind where I feel like someone else could do better than Grant Gustin
Yeah.
with all of
Well,
that. So I really don't know. I mean, I guess we just gotta wait and see.
I
But I
think
really
for
don't know.
me, for me, it's like he's already been Flash for 9 years on the TV
Yeah.
show. I feel like he wouldn't want to sign on for like 10 more years of movies. Also, he's a little old for like the rest of the cast that they're trying to find for the DCU. I mean, it could work, but also, I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with you that like with a better writing and special effects, all that stuff, he could be a lot better. But I also feel like we really haven't had a perfect Flash in my mind. Like he's fine on the TV show, he's good. and I like Ezra as well for the most part, but I feel like we haven't really gotten like a perfect Flash casting, you know? Um,
I'd really like to see someone with blonde hair.
right, something like that. Like if they're going to replace Ezra, I'd like them to just kind of reboot the Flash in the movies, you know? And plus having Grant Gustin as the new Flash, like what is it supposed to be the same Flash from the TV show, or is he just like another version? Like I feel like the you know technicalities of it would just be really confusing and weird. That
I,
being
I
said,
feel like
yeah.
I feel like another option that DC and Warner Bros have is maybe end the Flash on somewhat of a cliffhanger,
Mhm.
and then that way they see how the movie does. Because if it doesn't do
Yeah.
well because of all the drama surrounding Ezra Miller, they
Mhm.
might think that's the reason why, and they might go ahead and recast him.
Well,
But if it does extremely well, then they might keep him. I
that's
feel
what
like that's something they could do.
that's actually what I've heard. I've heard that the end of the Flash is supposed to like reboot a lot of stuff, reset a lot of stuff, but they're also just kind of keeping everything open to see how well it does. Like they haven't decided if Supergirl's going to be, the same actress going forward, or if Ezra's going to stay on. It seems like they're going to wait to see how the Flash movie does before they make any big decisions like that. But like that being said, with the whole Grant Gustin thing, it would be cool if he cameoed in the movie at some point,
Yeah.
because Ezra Miller cameoed in the Flash show.
Yeah, that was crazy to
That was
watch.
pretty sick. Yeah, that was pretty nuts. So it would be cool to see his Flash in it, at some point. But there was also this rumor going around about the Flash that Grace Randolph started this one too. She said that I she tweeted this. I hear that it's going to be a former Batman who cameos at the end of the Flash and could potentially stick around as the new permanent DCU Batman. Um, Damien's dad, Batman is still solo. Um, but it's and she said I know who it is, but it would be uncool to reveal the whole thing. Now she totally is speculating on the end could potentially stick around as the new permanent DCU Batman,
Oh yeah, without a
because
doubt.
everything I've heard is that it's George Clooney
Hmm.
who cameos. Like it's basically like I'm not sure if it's at the very end, like an end credit scene, or if it's towards like the final act or whatever. But apparently, Flash is kind of like trying to get back to his universe and kind of like bounces around to a few different ones, and one of them, George Clooney, is Batman, and he like has a brief conversation with him. Um, that's what I've heard, but he's definitely not continuing forward. Like the dude's 60. But also, James Gunn totally debunked this. Somebody said on Twitter, "Is it true you're casting George Clooney as the new main DCU Batman?" And James Gunn said, "Absolutely not." And then the guy said, "Does this mean we're still getting an actor who's already been Batman, or are we getting a new actor altogether?" And James Gunn said, "New actor." So that's good.
I did see that, and a
Hmm.
lot of fan castings really want Jensen Ackles.
Yeah,
Uh,
I definitely be down for that. Honestly,
he has a great jawline.
yes.
I think he's definitely
Well,
the age they're looking for.
I mean, he plays Batman, his voice on the newer like DC animated movies,
Yeah, exactly.
and he really loves Batman. He's always wanted to play Batman, so I would definitely be down with that choice if they're going for a actor that's a little younger than Affleck was, but not as young as the new Superman's going to be. If they're going for a younger Batman, I really don't know who to cast, because I feel like Robert Pattinson, they've already kind of been there, done that. Even though he's in his mid 30s, he's been playing Batman as like late 20s, early 30s. So
Right, and if Damian Wayne is gonna be
right,
in the Brave and the Bold,
he's got to be at least in his mid 30s. If
yeah, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, and that's why I also feel like we'll see a Nightwing and maybe Red Robin, maybe even Red Hood in that movie too. You never know
Yeah, I
because
definitely feel like they're going to at least set up the Bat family, so we're at least going to hear them mentioned, if not shown. I would at least like to see Nightwing. Um, and maybe
yeah,
have the
without
other. I feel like it would work best if they show Nightwing and maybe Batgirl, and I don't know how they would do Tim though, unless Tim is like kind of in the picture too, but that would get kind of messy. But I feel like Jason should be dead, and like he could come back as Red Hood in a future movie or story or something.
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
That would be kind of cool. But anyway, the Flash trailer, the Super Bowl. This dropped at the Super Bowl last weekend, Well, I guess not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And there was a TV spot that you did see. I think we all saw that, but you have not seen the full Flash trailer yet, have you?
No, I have not.
All right. Well, we're gonna watch that right now, and then we're gonna talk about it and get your fresh, I guess, take on it.
A few minutes later.
Wow, man, they made Michael Keaton look so cool as Batman. I did not expect that.
Dude, yeah, I know. It's I was very yeah, I had very I wasn't sure what my expectations were. Like I was hoping he would look cool, but also we've never really seen him up, with updated action. The action like, like it's not terrible. It's just so dated. The
Right.
old action. It's from the '80s and early '90s. Like, and he was in a very stiff suit and could barely move. So I was wondering like how well his version would translate. But yeah, they did such a good job. Like not only updating the suit, but just updating, his action and everything to modern day. It's gonna be really cool, I think, seeing him. I feel like he's got to have like an enhanced suit or something because he's like supposed to be, he's like 70. Like there's
Yeah.
no way he's gonna be moving like that, moving like Batman at 70, without any sort of assistance, I guess. I'm assuming there's going to be some stuff in the suit that's, but yeah, overall, like that movie, it just looks freaking epic. Like it is like the scale is kind like I expected it to be big, but it's kind of bigger than I expected. Like the end battle seems like is going to be insane. Like there's going to be two Flashes, at least one Batman, Supergirl, all versus like Zod and like his army looks like. Plus, I know there's going to be a Dark Flash in there at some point.
Yeah, and I didn't notice how when that shot where they go heel to heel there, I didn't notice the other suit was black.
It's red and black because okay, so the like the story that I know so far from like rumors plus people who like insiders who know stuff. By the way, major some potential spoilers for the Flash and everything, but from what I know, it's basically like he goes back in time to save his mom. It's very much a Flashpoint adaptation,
Right.
and he not only gets to like changes the timeline, but he kind of gets displaced into the past, like 10 years in the past when Man of Steel, like those events happened. But he's changed stuff to the point where Kal-El, Superman, is like dead or not there. From what I heard, he died, and Supergirl comes to Earth instead, and she kind of takes the place of Flashpoint Superman, where instead of landing on the Kent farm, she lands in like the middle of a city, and the government takes her and holds her prisoner and experiments on her. So that happened to Clark in the Flashpoint story. So it seems like they kind of swapped out Supergirl for him in that. And also, I've heard rumors that she's Zod's daughter, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. I don't know, but it's definitely like an alternate universe version of Supergirl, clearly. But also with Barry's meddling, he's
Oh
changed
yeah.
Ben Affleck's Batman to Michael Keaton somehow.
Yeah.
But he's also got his 10 years younger self there, and I've heard stuff that like he needs to like give him powers too. So there's like two Flashes. He doesn't have his powers yet.
Yeah, that one scene where they're in the lab and
Hmm.
all the lightning is coming out of
Yeah,
Barry. It looked like maybe they were trying to recreate the experiment that turned Barry into the Flash or something like that.
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of wondering if they're going to go like the Flashpoint route, where like main timeline Barry doesn't have powers either, and they both have to go through it again to regain their powers. And I'm kind of curious like what exactly is going on with his lightning, because it's kind of a small detail, but so far he's had blue lightning, and
Hmm.
in this he has yellow lightning, but it also seems like young Barry still has blue lightning. So I'm wondering if like they like they've got to explain why he has yellow lightning, and his younger self has blue. I'm kind of wondering if it isn't because he goes through you know, getting his powers a second time, and that kind of like supercharges him. I am very curious though. Like it just, yeah, it looks pretty sick, honestly. I'm definitely looking forward to
Yeah,
this.
that trailer definitely blew me away.
Yes.
Looks way more interesting than I thought. Looks way better
Yeah.
than I thought. And oh man,
Yeah,
I'm not the biggest fan of Man of Steel or Zod,
mhm.
but I think it's cool that he's coming back and I mean,
Yeah,
he get to give a great performance.
it seems like he's coming back for more scenes than I expected. I kind of expected him to just sort of like I almost kind of expected them to just kind of have a lot of stock footage and him return for like one or two scenes, but it seems like he's like returning for quite a few scenes for the last act, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I
And
mean, you could tell he's way older in that one shot when he's in the ship.
right. Yeah, so I guess we'll see. I mean, yeah, I was cautiously optimistic about this movie before the trailer, but after the trailer, I'm like, yeah, this looks cool as hell. So definitely looking forward to that. This could be like, I'm hoping it's a big success for DC. I mean, already it's got a bunch of views on YouTube. It was and apparently had the highest engagement of like all the Super Bowl commercials and TV spots and stuff. So I guess we'll see how it performs, but I think depending on how it performs and how a lot of stuff in it is received, it could definitely shape a lot of what we see going forward with DC. How do you feel about the Flash suit?
Man, I'd have to go back and pause it to get a
Mm-hmm.
better opinion, but I really like how the boots look,
Yeah.
but the whole upper body and mask is where I'm like, eh. It kind
Mm.
of reminds me of Injustice 2, the
Okay.
video game suit. It kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of that with no armor, and
Okay.
it kind of just looks like one of those morph suits you get from Walmart for Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it reminds me more of like the New 52 suit that was like kind of armor. I think a lot of that it's also because when he uses his powers, like the red, or sorry, not red, yellow lines like kind of appear in the suit, like it's charging it up or whatever.
Hmm.
I do think it looks a lot better than it did because like the Comic Con teaser and like a lot of the promo images, like his helmet looked really big and kind of like goofy. It looks like they definitely fixed stuff and touched stuff up with special effects, or they just gave us better angles, I guess. Um, but I guess we'll. I mean, for me, I think when he's in action, he looks fine. Like he looks cool. I guess we'll see. I mean, I don't think it's perfect. That's for sure. Like there are textures on it. I wish they had changed, but I don't know. For me, I kind of prefer when Flash's suit looks like it's going to be like it's very form fitting, but not in a I don't know, not like in a morph suit way. But I feel like all of the like CW suits have just looked kind of like cosplay. I mean, even the newer one, I feel like the material they use just makes it look like pajamas.
Oh yeah, without a
Like
doubt.
it's kind of hard to make a Flash suit, with cloth because of like how form fitting it looks in the comics. Which I guess is kind of the thing with all superhero costumes. But yeah, trailer looks cool as hell. Let's let's jump to the main event. Let's actually get into freaking Quantumania. So I guess just give me your one sentence thought about it, then we'll jump into like the pros and the cons and then some other spoilery stuff. So
I walked out enjoying the film.
mm-hmm.
I saw it on a Friday, so the day after a lot of people saw it on some midnight showings.
Oh yeah.
And I heard a lot of negative things about it
Yeah.
and some things people were complaining about. And I agreed with some of them. I disagreed with most of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all around it was good. I liked the character development for Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the character development they did for Janet.
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
think his daughter in the MCU could be pretty cool.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean, I pretty much agree with everything you said. Like, of course, it's not a perfect movie, but
Right.
it's a goddamn Ant-Man movie. Like I
Hmm.
went in expecting an Ant-Man movie with Kang, and I walked out thinking like, yeah, that was an Ant-Man movie with Kang.
Yep.
Like I'm really not sure all the hate this movie's getting. Like people are saying it's boring and stuff, and it's like what? And like people are mad that like it's goofy. I'm like it's a freaking Ant-Man movie, and people are like I saw people complaining that yeah, that it's like a Star Wars parody. I'm like, what? Like, not everything sci-fi is freaking Star Wars. Like,
Exactly. Like the only similarity I even saw
mhm.
had nothing to do with the story, but it
Yeah,
was just the fact that they went to like that little cantina bar area
right.
where Bill Murray's character came in,
And
and I'm
even
like,
that was like
wow, that's
very
it.
right. Yeah, that's it. Nothing else really struck me as Star Wars. Besides, oh, it's sci-fi, and it's not even in space. It's in like the freaking quantum realm, which is
Yeah,
technically,
exactly.
yeah. It just like I feel like a lot of people just comparing it to Star Wars just don't have any other like frame of reference for sci-fi or something, or Star Wars is the first thing that pops in their head. But I definitely wasn't thinking Star Wars really watching it. But yeah, so I guess let's talk about the stuff we liked and then get into stuff we didn't like. But for me, I thought I enjoy the humor for the most part. I didn't feel like it was overplayed. Like a lot of Marvel movies, I felt very consistent with the other Ant-Man movies. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think the like I it's not like every joke was amazing, but I didn't feel like what I really appreciated is that they didn't ruin Kang with
Oh,
like
yeah, without a doubt.
I feel like they did a really good job at balancing like the humorous Ant-Man tone with like Kang and like what he's doing. They definitely didn't like try and make a joke out of Kang, which was good. That was my only like concern about Kang in this movie.
Yeah, I'm extremely happy the route they went
Mm-hmm.
with Kang. He was pretty mundane in the first two acts, but you
Yeah.
saw how serious and violent
Yes.
he could become. And
Yes.
then I really loved how they kind of sort of unleashed him in the third act.
Yes.
Spoilers ahead,
Yeah.
but in the third act when he comes out and he just starts
Oh,
murking
dude.
everybody.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, yeah, Caleb's gonna like this. Yeah, I was enjoying the hell out of that. Yeah, I felt like as I was getting a little worried about halfway through because a lot of the Kang scenes that we saw in the trailer, they were showing in flashbacks when him and Janet were hanging out. So
Yes.
I was kind of thinking like, well, how much of Kang are they really going to show in like present day or with him kicking ass? But they definitely showed a lot. Yeah, like when you said like at the end when he just like showed up and like he just totally killed that one like robot dude or whatever.
Oh yeah, dude, and he like siphoned the energy around him
Yeah.
and
Oh,
shot
that
it
was
right back at
so
his
cool.
face.
Yeah,
That was so sick.
I was very happy with how they portrayed his powers. Um,
Yes.
the interesting thing about his powers in the comics, he has like kind of this kind of a grab bag, kind of like Iron Man does. Like
Hmm.
you could write them all down, but they vary a lot, and they all come from his suit. So I'm glad they showed all like the telekinesis, but also just the energy and like he can float around and stuff, and how and has a force field.
Yeah, and something a lot of people were complaining about was Wasp not really being in it.
Yes.
And that is true. She did have what seemed like a little bit less screen time,
Hmm.
but she was a very vital, important part of the
I was
film.
thinking the same thing. Like I saw somebody in like some comment section somewhere say something about like Wasp only had 3 lines. Like what? Not even like no. Like she didn't have as big of a like she wasn't as much of a focus. Like I felt like the second movie focused a lot on her.
Right,
I feel like
exactly.
this movie focused a lot on Scott and his daughter, but also Janet, her mom, which I didn't mind, especially considering like technically she's the Wasp too. When you really think about it,
Yeah, exactly.
she's the original Wasp. So I definitely liked her, like her getting more of because she really didn't get anything to do in Ant-Man 2. She just kind of showed up and was like, yeah, I was gone, and that's it. So it's kind of cool to see her be able to do stuff, and like they definitely retconned. Like what she went through in the Phantom, or not the Phantom Zone, what the hell? The Quantum Realm,
Hmm.
but like I think it worked because there's they never really showed her. They actually had like a reason why she never brought it up before and everything.
Yeah, and like I said, she was important. Like when
Mm-hmm.
Scott was first trying to shrink down the core to
Mm-hmm.
Kang's time chair, she saved him from that probability storm.
Yeah, I thought like there were actually a lot of really cool scenes. Like when I I don't care that much about Wasp herself, but when
Hmm.
she and Scott team up, they're a super good team and it's fun to watch.
Oh yeah, their dynamic is amazing.
Yeah, there was a few scenes in this movie. Like honestly, her and Scott were kind of apart most of the movie, to be honest. But when
Hmm.
they were together, they worked super well, and it was really cool. Like that one scene, like that you mentioned, I remember watching that and being like, "Yeah, that's cool. I love seeing them work together like that." And then that other team up scene where the two of them and Cassie kind of teamed up to like triple team Kang. That was super
Oh
cool.
yes, that was awesome. The action was great.
Yeah, and when she came back to save Scott at the end, I was like, okay, yep, that's pretty dope too. Yeah, I just yeah, I enjoyed all those scenes, and I really liked that scene where it was kind of part of the team up where Scott like grew huge and just like grabbed Kang in
Oh
his fist and just
yes.
slammed it. Like they did a good job kind of showing, Scott can at least like be a little bit of a threat to Kang, which I thought was really important to do because otherwise it's just like Kang beats the shit out of Ant-Man for 2 hours, you know?
Yeah. And another thing I disagreed with is a lot of people were saying they wasted Modoc. I really
I don't think
disagree with
so.
that one
Yeah.
because I kind of wish they didn't like redeem him at the end because he really in
Hmm.
the comics he really is pure evil.
Yeah.
But you can't do a live action Modoc without him just looking too goofy.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it just
I like
doesn't
that they
work,
just
and
leaned
I'm
into
happy
it.
with what they did.
Yeah, I thought it was a good blend of like, being, a killing machine, but also just being ridiculous. Cause like he's literally a floating head with little arm. Like he's supposed to be
Exactly.
ridiculous, and I'm glad they leaned into that. But also it's like, where'd all these Modoc fans come out of? Like
Yeah,
come
exactly.
from? They just like crawled out of the woodwork and everybody's like acting like they're a Modoc expert all of a sudden, you know? I did see one decent point on Twitter, which is kind of a miracle, but I did see a decent point. Somebody was basically saying, sure, Modoc has always looked goofy, but he also looks like his very existence is painful.
Mhm.
And he was saying that he's just not grotesque enough. Um, like I think there's some merit to that, but I think it's also like one of those things where it's like, sure, some comics do that and some don't. Some comics he just a goofy floating head, and some comics they try to like ground it more and make him like, serious character, I guess. So, but I feel like more often than not, he's just a giant floating head. So, like I think they did a pretty good job. Um, kind of making fun of him, but actually have him serve a purpose.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
how do you feel about him being Darren Cross? That was like I already kind of knew that going into it from like leaks and rumors, but
Yeah.
so I wasn't like surprised. But thinking about it, I'm kind of on the fence about it.
I mean, like you said, a lot of Modoc fans just kind of spawned out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And me personally, I didn't really know a whole lot about Modoc going into the movie.
Hmm.
And I think it just what worked best for what happened in the MCU. And I
Yeah.
was completely fine with the character and what happened with him.
Yeah, and I feel like I mean, the thing with Modoc if you really want to do him well, you have to have aim because he was created by aim.
Yeah, that's true. That is
And
true.
I didn't see this many people pissing and moaning in 2013 when they in Iron Man 3 when they just made AIM just like throwaway shell company for like Aldrich Killian and haven't
Yeah.
done anything with it. Like where the heck are the beekeeper suits,
Yep.
So it's like yeah, okay, like I feel like people are just kind of being nitpicky, which I don't know. That seems to happen on the internet. Like one person says something and then everybody else just hops on the bandwagon to feel smart, you know? But I mean, not to say everybody who has like problems with this movie has like like their opinion has no merit or anything. But I'm just saying, like, why all this? Like, why is it this movie that all these MCU fanboys are deciding to nitpick?
Yeah, exactly. I don't get it. I mean, they were such big fans of the first two Ant-Man,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden this just came out of nowhere. I think a lot of people are just starting to ride a hate Marvel train for some reason.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah,
too.
the quality has come down a little bit. There's no doubt in that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
But it's not like
these
every
films,
movie before this has been like spectacular, you know?
right? Exactly. I mean, movie studios. No matter what movie studio there is, you're gonna have some good movies and you're gonna
Hmm.
have some bad movies.
Yeah.
They've been on somewhat of a slump, but I mean, is everyone forgetting Spider-Man No Way Home?
Right, I
Like,
know.
I mean,
That
come
was
on.
like one of the biggest Marvel movies ever.
Exactly.
Yeah. So and like in Shang-Chi too, just a few months before that, everybody loved that.
Right, exactly. It doesn't make any sense to me
And I'm
whatsoever.
pretty sure Loki came out that same year. So it's like
Right, exactly. Even more like evidence, like
yeah,
Loki was great.
like I'm not trying to be like, a MCU dick writer or anything, but
Right.
I'm just saying, like, where does all this hate like come from all of a sudden? It's like, you know, until Endgame, it was like the MCU was almost perfect, and then like now it's just people are starting to see flaws. I'm like, well, it's not like the rest were flawless, but whatever. I digress.
Right, exactly. But my favorite part of the whole movie
Yeah,
was that straight up fist fight between Kang and
yeah,
Ant-Man at the end.
that was cool. Cause yeah, it felt like very down and dirty, which you don't get in a lot of MCU
Right, we
movies.
haven't gotten that in such a long time, and it was so awesome. It got me hyped for
Mhm.
Creed 3 too,
Oh
like
yeah, right, exactly, yeah. No, yeah, and like they actually saw Scott like just get the shit kicked out of him, which I
while
thought.
not giving up at the same time, which is
Right,
perfect.
exactly. Yeah, it was very cool. I thought they really made Scott like the most heroic he's ever been,
Yep, without a
which I
doubt.
thought was pretty cool. I yeah, I really I liked the giant ants too, if I'm being honest with you, because the whole movie I was kind of thinking like, I mean, they're in the quantum realm, so I guess there's not going to be any like really ant stuff, which is not like it's not like ants are my favorite thing, but
Right.
a huge staple of Ant-Man is the whole ants thing.
Right, exactly. And when the ants came in at the end there,
Yeah.
it felt very convenient. But
Yeah.
like you just said, you can't have an Ant-Man movie without ants,
Uh,
and that was the only ant scenes we really got. So
right.
I was fine with it.
And like they set it up earlier,
Yeah,
it's
I
not
mean,
like it just dropped out of nowhere. Plus, I feel like it gave Hank something to do,
yep.
because he hasn't had like a whole lot to do besides be like a mentor role in these movies.
Hmm.
And I thought it was kind like I felt like it was the only way like there was any sort of chance that Kang would, because you kind of needed an army to take on Kang,
Yeah,
and he like defeated pretty much everybody else. I feel like you just need like a swarm of freaking ants, like a,
exactly.
like yeah, sure that could be goofy, but it's like yeah, it's Ant Man. Like what, like that's exactly what would freaking happen in the comics. Like freaking like if Ant Man went against Kang in the comics 1-on-1, he would call like an army of freaking ants.
Yeah, exactly.
But and like I never thought I would ever see a bunch of ants just beating the shit out of like Kang. So
Yeah, that part was pretty funny,
yeah,
and I was like, wow, that's kind of gruesome. Like
yeah,
they made that seem really violent.
yeah. I kind of like you kind of talked about Modoc and like how he kind of redeemed himself in the end. I kind of didn't care that he died. Um,
Oh yeah, same here.
but in like the whole Darren Cross thing, I could have gone either way. Like I think it made sense that he wasn't dead. Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like I am glad that they explained it though. Like they actually showed him like that it only shrunk like his head, like his limbs, and like left his head and everything. Like I'm glad that they showed that and explained that instead of just being like, well, this just kind of happened, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and I'm not like married to Modoc, so like I don't really care that he died so much. And I thought it was kind of funny where he went like, and I died an Avenger, you know.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty funny, but kind of like last little thing, it's sort of a little tangent, but oh yeah, well besides Bill Murray, he just, he was just Bill Murray, but it was great cuz he's him.
Oh yep. Yeah, that was really cool to see.
But I thought yeah, and I thought some of the other characters were kind of like I didn't really care that they weren't fleshed out, but some of them felt kind of like convenient, like the telepath guy. But
Yeah.
I guess we'll talk more about that in the cons. But I kind of, for some reason, I kind of liked that goop they had to drink to like understand the languages and stuff. Like
That was so
it was
that was
goofy as
so
hell,
goofy.
but at the same time, like I really liked the way they did that, where like it was just a clamoring of weird alien voices. And
Yeah.
then, like, right as he drank it, it turned into English. I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I think I'm done with the pros. If you want to move on to the more negative stuff.
Oh yeah, it's fine with me.
Okay, so I think Cassie took getting used to. Like, I thought she was a fine character, but she felt
Yeah,
like a
without a doubt.
completely different character. Like she felt like a brand new character because
Yeah.
obviously she was a little girl in the first two, and then they did a whole time jump, and she was a different actress in Endgame,
Hmm.
and they just kind of recast her because she's more famous, the new actor, Catherine Newton or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but like they totally played her different. They just, I mean, to be fair, they didn't really tell us anything about what she's been doing the last 5 years in Endgame. But I do feel like they kind of just brought, I didn't get the impression she was like an activist, and also they just kind of like shoehorned in still like her having a relationship with Hank, like calling him Grandpa Hank and stuff.
Yeah, that seemed a little weird to me.
I felt like they did a lot of stuff with her off screen to the point where it felt like I had like it was a brand new character. I had to almost develop a brand new like connection with her throughout
Right.
the movie.
Because she's technically, I mean, I guess she's known him since she was
Hmm.
a little girl, but she was away from her dad just as long as he was away from Hank. So
Yeah, so yeah, it was a little like felt a little bit forced, or at least if it happened off screen, it obviously happened off screen, but we didn't see any of it.
and
Um,
some of her dialogue came off as bad.
yeah, yeah, like
So
what specifically?
well, when her first few lines when they were driving in the car, and it kind of felt like it was a little bit of her acting at some points,
Hmm.
and some of the dialogue it
Yeah,
just felt odd to me, and I wasn't the
okay.
biggest fan of it.
Yeah, I felt like that one scene was weird where they were all sitting around like the dinner table at Hank's house, and she was
Yeah,
like
that too.
reaming out her dad for like not doing anything important or something, and he's like, "I saved the world," and she's like, "Yeah, but like in the last few months you haven't done shit," and it was just
Like, do you
like.
need to do anything more than that? Come on.
Yeah, I know, like I feel like there was no real build up to that. It just kind of came out of left field. I guess like we were supposed to just assume that he had been like not doing anything for the last few months besides the book. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, like that's kind of like not much different than what he did before. He mostly just like lived his life and then came around when something big happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So that kind of came out of nowhere. That whole scene, I was like, well, what is going on here? And then they just sort of like moved on from it. But and I kind of feel like the whole thing with like I feel like a big theme of the movie was that Scott, felt like he had missed a lot of time with Cassie, which he had. He missed like 5 years. But
Yeah.
I feel like they just barely mentioned it at the beginning and then it became like a big theme that kept coming up. But I just kind of didn't feel it. I kind of feel like they didn't flesh it out enough or something.
Yeah. And the trailer made it seem like Kang was gonna offer Ant-Man like that time back.
Yeah, which I thought he did maybe, but then he kind of like didn't because I think yeah, what happened? Yeah, he like they ended up like keeping Cassie pretty much.
Yeah.
Um, you know, keeping her hostage. So yeah, it was kind of. I felt that was a little bit, not fleshed out, kind of underdeveloped. I kind of felt the same thing with Scott and Hope and like their whole like romance and relationship. Like obviously
Yeah.
we know they're together because of the last few movies, but it was very glossed over. Like at the very beginning, they like were sharing a beer together or something, and then the rest of the movie they're hardly together, and then they're like at the very end, it just felt very much like I don't know. I just felt like a lot of it just kind of happened off screen or was assumed. I mean, we weren't really shown enough, to
Yeah.
really care. Like at the end, they kissed and they're like, "I love you" and everything. Which it wasn't a surprise because we knew they had a relationship. But given that that was the first time of the whole movie they ever seemed much like a couple, it was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, because they were kind of away from each other in the movie a lot, so there really
Yeah.
wasn't any scenes to like develop
Mm-hmm.
what we haven't seen.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. I kind of wish there had been a few more scenes with them that like develop their relationship a little bit more.
Hmm.
Uh, Kind of last thing for me in the cons section was the ending and not like Scott dying. I really didn't care either way if he died or not. Like I know some people like wanted him to die almost, but I think it was fine that he didn't die. I mean, it's freaking Ant-Man. Like, why would you just like kill him off? Like I think it made sense that like Wasp came in and saved him and like they defeated him together. I
Right,
think
exactly.
I like that. I just kind of wish the movie had a somewhat of like a cliffhanger or something. Like when it's like for a second there, I thought that they were trapped in the quantum realm, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
this is actually a pretty cool ending. Like they're trapped in the quantum realm, and they're gonna have to like find a way out somehow. But then they just sort of like randomly were like, oh no, yep, we can just open a new door. Like, oh, okay, you know, and then they just pulled them back like it was nothing. And
yeah,
then yeah, I just was, and then like it ended with them at like a fake birthday dinner for Cassie or something. No.
yeah, and I have three more cons.
Yeah.
Just little stuff,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like you said, they kind of just reopened the portal,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that fist fight scene at the end kind of it was. I feel like they could have just went through the portal and just closed it right away. But I
Right.
guess I get Scott wanting to beat Kang. Make sure he could
Yeah.
never become a threat again.
Right.
And I feel like Janet she was kind of lame in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and cause like I didn't really like how she was just I was away from my husband for so long. I have needs.
Oh
That's just like
yeah, that
I did not
was
like that at all. And
kind of. I mean, I guess it to a certain extent it makes sense. It was like 20 or 30 years, but yeah, it was also a little weird.
she kept saying she never told them about Kang because she was protecting them, but wouldn't protecting them be warning them of
That's a good point.
the
Yeah.
world-ending threat that's in there, and she was okay with sending Scott into the subatomic level
Mm-hmm.
to get the particles needed for Ghost at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I understand Kang couldn't necessarily track him there,
Yeah.
but she's been out of it. Who knows what he could do now? Time is different. They say that all the
Right.
time. He could have
Yeah.
been so advanced where he could track him, and some that didn't really make sense to me.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fair. I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. Yeah. Um. Yeah, kind of going back to like the ending real quick. I kind of wished, like, once they actually got back and it was like wrapping up, I was really hoping there's gonna be like an actual like tease to like the next Avengers movie or something. You know, like I was hoping there was gonna be some. Because there was that one scene where Scott was doing the voiceover like in his head, and he was like, "Wait a minute!" But he said if we stopped him, then there was, like I thought that was kind of like a bit of a tease. I was kind of hoping for like something a little more like concrete, but
yeah, something a bit more dramatic, maybe.
we are still like 2 years out from Kang Dynasty, so whatever.
Right. And I saw a fan theory where when Kang gets sucked into the multiverse,
Mm-hmm.
he that's how he becomes the Beyonder.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Because there's a lot of rumors already of the Beyonder being in Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty. I keep forgetting which one.
Secret. I mean, it
And
should be Secret Wars. Because that was how it was in the comics.
okay, right, and yeah, they think that Kang is going to become the Beyonder, which
Okay.
is pretty interesting, but uh, I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know too much.
I'd rather just have
Beyond.
like an actual Beyonder character than him being a Kang variant. But
Yeah, I think I would too.
so do you think we're going to see, like, do you think that, like, it seemed pretty clear to me that that is kind of like the main villain Kang that we see, from the comics and everything.
Hmm.
Do you think we're gonna see him again in Kang Dynasty? I mean, I feel like it would be weird if he didn't show up again in the Kang Dynasty.
Yeah, because now, like, I feel like in a way you kind of get sort of attached to that specific Kang,
Well,
and you want to see more of him.
because
And I understand it's all about variants, but
yeah,
this
but
Kang in particular,
he is Kang though. Like that's the thing. He's like the main universe Kang for the most part. If we're
right?
talking about the
Exactly.
comics. So, like the other versions of Kang don't usually even use the name Kang, anyway. So he is like kind of the only Kang, the Conqueror. So I feel like we've got to see him again. Like, and it seems like they just sent him like deeper down into the quantum realm. So he's not
Yeah.
dead. He's just kind of trapped again, but I feel like he's gonna have to find his way out because I feel like you can't have a Kang movie, like, you can't set him up as like the next villain and not have actual Kang be in it. Um,
Yeah.
but like the end credit scene show, they're definitely setting up like just infinite variants showing up, which I wasn't
Yeah.
sure how big they were gonna go with Kang Dynasty, but it seems like they're gonna go pretty freaking big.
because I know we saw Rama Tut Kang,
Exactly. Yep.
which
Yeah.
was the first appearance, and that Kang went against the Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm pretty sure the one with the weird hat and the raspy voice was Immortus.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. Yeah, it could be Immortus. Yeah, I'm not sure who like that cyborg one was supposed to be.
Some people were saying he was Silver Centurion.
Mm. Yeah, it could be. Well, yeah, I think he just called. Yeah, I'm not sure. That
Or
could.
was it Crimson in the
It
comics?
was something because Silver Centurion is one of Iron Man's armors. I
Right,
think it's
right.
just Centurion or something like that. But yeah, that could be him, or it could be like knowing Marvel, it could just be an original variant, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I
But
mean, if
then
they're
again, if they
versus
went to the trouble to bring in Rama Tut, you know, and then at in the second credit scene, we saw Victor Timely, who is another main Kang variant, because there are really only like 5 main Kang variants in the comics. You know, there's obviously a bunch of them, but those are the ones that pop up and are like of most note. Um,
yeah, Victor. I feel like in Loki season 2, that Kang is going to be the one that we saw at the end of season 1, Loki.
okay, the Victor, yeah, that would make the most sense because if they're traveling back in time, they're gonna be seeing, you know, him
Yeah,
that version and
exactly.
presumably trying to stop him, which I suppose would make sense because like technically the Kang from Ant-Man did, you know, conquer and destroy a bunch of other worlds across the multiverse. So
Hmm.
it's possible he took over the TVA, but I feel like it would make a little more sense if it was a different variant. But I guess we'll see when Loki comes out. But I do
Yeah.
like how they're kind of sprinkling Kang into everything. Whereas I feel like with Thanos, he was kind of in a lot of stuff, but he felt like a background character for the entire MCU until Infinity War. Whereas Kang feels like he's very important to just the main overarching story of everything. You know, like they even have him as a main villain in a freaking Ant-Man movie, you know?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
presumably the main villain in the next season of Loki. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to Loki kind of continuing Kang's story. What do you think? What do you think the Kang dynasty is going to be? Like, do you think it's going to be the Avengers versus all of the Kangs, or like the Avengers versus Kang and the other Kangs are in it? Because, like, to me, I feel like it's going to be kind of Kang versus all the variants, because, like, it seems like they want to bring something, or like they want to, like, he was acting like that there was going to be this multiversal ending event that these other Kangs are going to bring about, and he was trying to stop them. So I kind of feel like there's going to be a showdown between Kang and all the other variants, but at the same time, I feel like the Avengers are going to try and stop him too. So, like, part of me wonders if there isn't going to be somewhat of a team up between Kang and the Avengers, and you know, versus all his variants, and then they like have to stop him at the end, or he you know kind of carries over to Secret Wars.
Yeah, I definitely think we're going to see a bunch of Kangs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I feel like it's not going to be a bunch of Kangs, a bunch of versus the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
But the name Kang Dynasty
Yeah.
kind of makes me think of um, like people after this Kang, and I feel like maybe
Mm.
we could get Iron Lad or something. Maybe they could
Yeah.
find a way to incorporate him into the story
I
because
was thinking the same
he's
thing.
actually one of the few good variants of Kang.
I was totally thinking the same thing. Like, since they're doing the thing with Kang, it'd be cool to see Iron Lad show up.
Hmm.
Um, but I think it would be cool to see a lot of Kangs in interacting and whatnot. But I feel like the Kang Dynasty really has the potential to be a very different Avengers movie, because I feel like it could be different than just a villain versus the Avengers. You know,
Yeah,
it could be like a bunch of different villains, and they each have different motivations, and you know there could be like weird, unexpected alliances and whatnot. Plus, Kang is a descendant of Reed Richards, so considering Fantastic Four comes out that same year, I kind of hope they somehow work an angle in there where Reed Richards is kind of important, you know, because he's an ancestor. I guess technically he's or yeah, I think technically Kang is a descendant of Reed Richards and Doctor Doom somehow.
yeah, because Kang, or maybe, well, I guess we don't know about this version of Kang, but for the most part, he comes from the 31st century.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I am very so far I've really enjoyed what they've done with Kang. I hope it continues this way because
100%.
I feel like he has the potential to be an even cooler villain than Thanos, if they do it right because he just is gonna be getting so much development.
Yeah.
But yeah, did you have anything else you want to say about this movie or Kang or anything?
Not really. I think we pretty much covered it all.
Nice. So I know when you got out of it, you said you would give it a 7. Is that still about what you would rate this movie? A 7 out of 10?
Yeah, I think I would.
Okay.
I definitely have to watch it again, but I don't
Yeah,
think I want to pay
same.
to see it again.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely watch that when it comes on Disney Plus day one again.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like for a lot of movies I kind of have to see it at least twice to fully get a, informed opinion on it.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to see it again in theaters because I have, friends and family who haven't seen it.
Right.
But I think for me, and I think this is more just kind of because we're different people and have different rating systems. I feel like for me, I'd give it like a 7, but between a 7.2 and 7.5, like somewhere in that range. But pretty similar to yours. So a good movie. Like it was definitely a good movie. There was
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
like it's definitely not like what like freaking 54 on Rotten Tomatoes. Let me look that up real quick.
Yeah, that's utterly ridiculous to me, and it doesn't deserve the hate it's getting. Yeah, there was things wrong with it, but nothing too major in my opinion.
Yeah,
But
I don't get like all this hate. Like people are actually calling it garbage. Like I really do not understand that. Like it was not that
there's
bad.
a lot of people were saying it was bottom five MCU movies, which is so ridiculous to me because there's no way it's on the same level as Thor: The Dark World or Captain Marvel.
Yeah, or
That,
for or
that's
frickin'
crazy.
Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, that too. Like, come
Like
on.
I didn't see
And I
nearly as much hate with Thor: Love and Thunder that this movie is getting. This is definitely better than that crap.
exactly. I mean, everyone's opinion is just going to change in 3 months, anyways.
Yeah,
Because
it's true.
every movie since Shang King that came out, everyone was saying this
Mm-hmm.
is a top five MCU, da, 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 da. And then a few months later, they're like, oh, well, a lot of people are saying it's bad now, so I guess I have to agree with them.
Right. I feel like a lot of people are like in 6 months they're gonna be like, well, it wasn't that bad. I feel this like opinions change so much. Yeah. So
Yeah,
apparently the critic score is 40, like a 46%, 47%, which is stupid, and the audience score is 84%. So at least I don't know. At least it seems like the haters online are more like in the minority. Besides the critics. I feel like a lot of people are just
mm,
kind of wannabe critics, and just kind of like, kind of agree with the critics. Like, like I feel like there's some people who don't, but some I feel like, feel smart agreeing with the critics about stuff.
exactly. And I feel like these are the type of people that only watch like cult classic movies and MC and superhero movies,
Hmm.
and they just feel like they know everything, and
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
right. It's like
Some crazy people out
feel
there.
like I feel like
Could
every
not be.
movie now is expected to be like, the Batman or Logan or the Dark Knight or something, which
Yeah.
is kind of stupid, especially considering like there's plenty of like just fun little movies that get no hate at all. So, but anyway, yeah, that is the episode, everyone. Thanks so much for listening. We have new episodes coming out every other Monday. This one's going to come out a couple days late, but be sure to stay tuned every other week for a new episode. And the weeks in between that, I upload a video version of the podcast to our YouTube channel. So check us out on YouTube at Casual Experts for those, but also for other comic and fandom related content. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me, Caleb.
Yeah, no problem. It was a pleasure being on.
Yeah, man. All right, that is that. Thanks again for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.